Hey guys, Dr. Dave here. I wanted to do a quick, short series of videos on publishing books, specifically Amazon Kindle. And so I want to tell you a little bit about it. Hopefully I'll whet your interest, stir up some curiosity, and help you find a way. I mean, it's not all about making money. I mean, don't get me wrong, making money is good. But here's the thing is that I've got this core theory, and I didn't come up with it. A friend of mine, Dan Miller, is the one that told me about it. It's this theory that everybody has a song inside of them, a song, a book. It's a metaphor for how God created you to be so unique that there is no one else in existence that can do the things you're meant to do the way you're meant to do it. That particular blend of expertise, experiences, life experience, family, hobbies, gifts, passions, all those things that blend together. There's no other creation like you. And so what I've found in life is that one of the best ways to get that song out is through books. I'm a writer at heart. That's one of the gifts God gave me and a passion too, is just writing, disseminating information, usually not just video here, but usually in writing. And so I'm going to do this quick series for you, a couple of videos to hopefully get you publishing. Now, all this is off the cuff. I don't have a script in front of me, just a few notes of things, mainly so I don't miss anything. This first video, though, is mainly meant to be encouragement and motivation. I want to convince you, first of all, that you need to publish. You need to get that song out there in print, and when I say print, digital or hands-on, a book. And so you need to get that song out. And so, first of all, one of the biggest things I run into is inspiration. Here's the thing. People either are inspired with a story to write or they're not. We've all met people over the years that say, I need to write that book. I need to get that idea out there. They've got an idea. For some people, ideas are not the problem. That's me. I've got too many ideas and not enough time. Other people have no ideas and wish they did. And so here's a little bit of motivation for that side of things. I run a weekly session that I host in another group called Monetize Yourself. And once a week, we get onto a Zoom call. And anybody that's in the membership can join those Zoom calls. And so they come on and they can talk about, I want to hear about them. Like, what are they into? There's a guy that's been on there for a while. He's a friend of mine from in that group, and he talks about running. And so, hence, we talk about ways to monetize running. And so, there's always something in your life. I don't care who you are. Pick what most of us regard as the most menial job out there, the most boring job, the thing that you would hate. I mean, for me, it's a factory job, and that's not busting on factory jobs. There might be some of you that have them, good pay, good benefits. It might be your kind of thing, but for me, the idea of doing the same thing day in and day out in the same place, that would destroy my soul. And it might enrich your soul and your life. So like I said, I'm not trying to bust on that, but just for me, that's it. And let's just think of an occupation that someone would think, well, you can't do anything with that. How would you monetize that? A gas station attendant. Some people might think that's a low pay job. In some places, that might be a very dangerous job. They think, well, surely you could be qualified to do more. It doesn't matter. A gas station attendant, if I was trying to take someone like that and help them monetize that, just think of the conversations alone. I mean, they could do an entire TV series or a podcast or a book or a series of recordings, of videos on YouTube of conversations with people that come in. Let's think about it this way. You might think there's not much to that job, but me and my kids, we like to watch TikTok videos from time to time, and we watch a ton of videos that are nothing more than TikTok shorts filmed in gas stations. People that come in, I've seen some where there's a dude that hides in the cooler, and when people open the cooler, he squirts them with a water gun. Those are usually pretty funny. It might not be a fun prank if it's done to you, but it's a little fun for me and the kids to watch. And see, that's what I mean. This guy has monetized working in a gas station. I've seen people do it with as a Walmart greeter. I've seen people do it as landscapers, as janitorial staff, as trash guys. You can monetize pretty much anything. And that's what I want you to realize. No matter where you are in life, and if you need to talk, by all means, I mean, catch me on one of the calls here in this group, or get in touch with me, and we can have a talk about how to monetize where you already are. And so that's what I want to get at as far as writing books. Turn that into a book. You can turn it into a book. I've heard so many interesting conversations in this group from people that they live lives that are very, I'm making up words at this point, monetizable. But they live lives that are so interesting to other people. You might not think it's interesting, but to other people like me, it's amazing. I have heard people talk about raising sheep, hunting truffles, renting log cabins, roofing. I mean, so many things, baking pies for people, so many things that to someone outside of that, it's incredibly interesting. And here's the thing. Every single one of those occupations I've mentioned in this talk already, from gas stations to sheep and roofing, and there have been books written about those. And so if somebody else can write a book about it, that's not an indicator that it's already done and you shouldn't do it. What it does mean, though, is that it's doable. Somebody else has done it, and I guarantee somebody else needs to hear exactly what you're going to write. And so I hope I've done enough so far to pique your curiosity, to make you realize that, hey, you know what? That thing I do is monetizable. For instance, on there, one of the books I wrote, and I've got about, I think, at last count, 36 books published in print, on Amazon, different places, 36 books. That's not including the thousands of magazine articles I've written over the years, and videos and printables that are published on Etsy and other places. And so I'm a voracious writer. I just love disseminating information. But I turned some of my dad's stories. My dad is a remodeler. About 40 years now, he's owned a remodeling company. I turned some of his stories into a book that he uses as a giveaway to his clients. And let me tell you this. This is a good segue to my next thing, is that what's the importance of books other than getting the information out there? Well, a book makes you the instant expert. Because guess what? If my dad is trying to sell a $60,000 sunroom remodel, and he goes out to do an estimate, talks to the customer, meets them, things like that, and hands them a book. Oh, by the way, here's a book that's been written about my company and some of the stories and people we've met and interesting jobs we've done. And then his competition comes along, and all they're trying to do is sell a job. They give an estimate. There's no book. There's probably a shiny brochure, that kind of thing. Who seems like more of an expert? The owner that comes out with a book in hand saying, hey, oh, by the way, or the guy that just shows up with a clipboard and a pencil and a tape measure. Instant expert status. And so in your industry, in your hobby, your passion, wherever you are, a book will lend you instant expert status. Number two, a book makes for the most awesome business card. I mean, not so much anymore, but used to, we all had amazing business cards. And we would go on Vistaprint or other places. And I even remember the old days when you had to have the guy at the print shop design your business card, or Kinko's or something. Nowadays, though, you can give away a book as a business card. Now, you don't always want to give away a print book because it's a lot of money. You do sometimes want to give away. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But here's the thing. I've written a lot of books in my industry, and I use the PDF versions of those books as giveaways. I've already written it, and the books are selling in other markets at full price. But sometimes people will come at me with a question, or I'll meet someone, and the easiest way to give an answer and establish that expert status and possibly bring in a new client is to just send them a PDF copy of my book. Guess what is at the end of every one of my books? Marketing information. Let's see, this one here, this is an older one, but yeah, I've got information in here. It's all my social media links. It's an offer of a free PDF version of the book for a review. And so it's a business card. And so instant expert status, business card, getting that song out of you and into the world where God meant for it to be. So I'm going to give you a few examples of a couple of books that I've published. And then I'm going to stop this video. So if this has whetted your curiosity, made you think to yourself, you know what, I need to do this, or you know what, I can do this, then I hope you'll tune in for the next videos. I'm actually going to get into a little more technical information about how my process that I go through to publish books. It's not as hard as you'd think. There are a lot of ways to do it. I'm going to show you the way I do it. Feel free to copy me as much as you want. If you want resources from me, just get in touch. I mean, I love everyone in this group and want to help you as much as I can in any way I can. And maybe I'll send you a PDF copy of one of my books and say, here's an example. But let me show you these books. And so, like I said, I've published 36 books, a lot of other things, but also books. Not all of them are mine. A lot of the books I've published are either public domain material. In other words, public domain material is things that there is no copyright on, things published by the government, really old books. I've also published a lot of other people's works. When people found out that I publish a lot and I make it look easy, or at least I make it look like a business, and that's a big deal. They come to me and they say, here's my song. Here's my song. Can you publish this for me? And I do. And so I've actually formed my own publishing company where, I'll publish people. And like a traditional publishing company, I get a cut, that kind of thing. But it's allowed me to expand my business to help other people, because a lot of people want to write a book, but not everybody wants to go through all the technical stuff to market it, to publish it, things like that. And so I try to help people out. I've published books by a lot of my family. One of my uncles passed away, and he actually had the rights to his dad in I'm guessing the 30s and 40s. Sorry, some of y'all are a little bit younger than me. The 1930s and 1940s had published a series of magazines, and they were all in print. And my cousin had the rights and the copies of all of his dad's work, and we're talking decades of work. And so I talked to my cousin. I had him sign over the copyright and the rights to publish that to me. And so I republished his dad's works. And so it brought them back to life again. These magazines and booklets that had been out of print for decades. And so, it's really neat to see that when somebody would think, how could I ever share this stuff with the world? Well, that's how we do it. All right, so let me get to the examples. I keep telling you I'm going to show them to you. Let's get on to that. This one. This is absolutely positively my best-selling book ever. Out of all the ones I've written and published, this is the one. It's got an incredibly long title. Let me read this to you. An informal and unofficial prepper's guide to James Wesley Rawls' Patriots. And so this book, my bestseller, is nothing more than a reference guide to a book somebody else wrote. I do a lot of work in emergency management, disaster medicine, and prepping, because that's a core skill that goes into all that stuff, is helping people be prepared for the unknown emergencies that could happen, zombies, aliens, whatever. But this book, James Wesley Rawls' Patriots, that I base this on, it's one of the most popular and well-known prepper or apocalyptic books out there. Talk to most any serious prepper and they've read it. They probably own a copy. They know all about it. Now, I read the book several times. I mean, for pure enjoyment, for work. It's a fictional book, but it's one of those kind of books that has a ton of nonfiction expertise and skills and resources mixed into the fiction. And so I took a lot of notes. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to organize these notes. I'm going to put them into a book. And I'm going to publish it. And so that's what it is. This book, I mean, the vast majority of it is, and that's incredibly small type also, the vast majority of it is actually lists of resources. I mean, here's a list of shotguns and other weapons used in the book and pros and cons to certain ones. And it was a really easy thing to write because I already had the notes. And that's what I mean, monetizing yourself. I'm guessing you've got notes and forms and journals and things like that already in your house waiting to be published, waiting to be turned into a real book. And so like I said, that's my bestseller. About a month after it came out, the author, who is, like I said, very well known in the prepping space, actually mentioned my book on one of his blogs. And really, he didn't say anything other than, hey, I came across this book that was published about my work. I wonder why this guy didn't talk to me about it. That's all he said. And I sold a few thousand copies off of that one mention. People thought, oh, somebody wrote a resource guide to this book I already love. And so a lot of prepper bookshelves, you'll find my book shelved beside the main one. That's pretty cool for me. Next one. This is one of the books I published for someone. That's my grandpa in World War II. He was a World War II Marine, fought on Iwo Jima where the flag raising was, lots of other battles. And so he took he did a lot of journaling. And so all through when he was raised in the 1920s as a sharecropper on a little farm in the Marines later on, and he was also a medical teacher. And so he taught paramedics, doctors, nurses, and so he would actually draw out the lessons. This was way, way before PowerPoint or anything like that. Most of his medical drawings were actually on overhead slides, if you're old enough to remember those. But he journaled while he was in combat. They'd get some rest and relaxation. They'd go back to Hawaii to resupply, and he would do these journals. He even wrote songs. And so this was an extreme pleasure for me, was compiling all his journals and his notes and everything and publishing that. I was able to do this probably about 10 years before he passed away. And we got copies to all the family, to his brothers, great-great-grandkids. I mean, this was a pleasure for me to publish. The only thing I wrote in this book, I mean, I designed the cover and did all the formatting and everything, which mainly was just dragging pictures here and there. I wrote an introduction. The rest of it was already done. I just had to format it, send it to the publisher. And now this one sells on Amazon and a few other places. But there are lots of ways you can extra monetize things as well. I actually, you know what? I'll save that strategy for another lesson. But ways you can copy, paste, repeat, and then do even more. All right, my first book, my very first book. This one is about a trip I took to Alaska way back in, I think it was 93, maybe. I lived out of my car. It was in my 20s before I had a wife and kids. Lived out of my car for a year and traveled North America. I was I was raised in South Carolina, a few miles from the Atlantic Ocean, and I drove all the way from South Carolina up through the U.S. and Canada up to Alaska. Ran a marathon up in Alaska, but this little book here is about all my journeys in between. A few pictures, but most of it's just a rewriting of my journals. My journals were handwritten during the trip, and so I just copied those into here, formatted it. I added a lot of trip information, like addresses, phone numbers, places to find neat campsites. Like I camped in a teepee beside the Grand Canyon on the North Rim, where most people don't even go. And so it was pretty cool. All information about that kind of stuff in here. There were actually some pretty good reviews I got on this one too. One of them from the governor of South Carolina, so that was pretty cool. And so that's my travel book. And then I want to show you this one. This is one of my most popular public domain books. And so this is the Red Dawn Insurgency Manual. Many of you are probably familiar with the Red Dawn movie or movies. I wrote a book based on the strategies and tactics that would help someone survive an insurgency like that, an operation where a larger, armored, better armed force invaded. And so it's kind of neat because for Red Dawn aficionados, for preppers, that kind of thing, there's some really good factual information in here that could help you. For other people, they just like looking at it and saying, oh, so that's why they did what they did in the movie. And so there's a lot of stuff in here about how to defend yourself against a tank attack, things like that, how to purify water, how to build shelters, and how to form attack formations against a superior force, all kinds of really neat stuff. But this is one of the hardbacks that you can have printed on Amazon through the KDP system. And so I love this one because it's a nice, big, thick book. I think it's near 400 pages. And hardback, print, Kindle, anything you need. And this is all printed through KDP. Listen to this. I always heard, the heft factor. The heavier something is, the more noise it makes when you drop it, the more value you can get out of it. Listen. Oh, yeah, that's nice. All right, so I'm going to wrap this video up. And we've gone a long time here. And so the next videos may not be as long. I'm not sure. But I'm going to show you the nuts and bolts of what I do for my process and how I publish a book. Hopefully, like I said, my main goal here was to encourage you that you need to do it. You need to get that book published. And now we're going to show you how.